Hi folks, and thanks for joining me for what I think is going to be a really exciting video. Well, it is for me at least. Over my career, I've had the good fortune of being able to shoot with pretty much every one of Nikon's top portrait lenses and all of their fast aperture prime lenses from the past 20 or 30 years.
You on my mind a lot, don't need no time watch. I don't know how I got you in my pocket spot. Yeah, that's babe, need you every day. You like my oxygen, make it seem like the barging down. Got my heart no barging in, from the bed to the floor to the couch. Might wake the neighbors up, break you in and break you out. In the end, we gon' make a child. Then we gon' hit the shower. Part 2, we don't need no pause. You with Misty, we gon' get tipsy, don't need a power shot.
Copy my steel.
I've also had the good fortune of being able to purchase a lot of those top portrait lenses. Three of my favorites, the 105-14E, the 51-2, the 200mm f2 VR2, insert god-like sounds. Beautiful lenses, also the Noct 0.95, the old Noct, the 85-1.2, pretty much all of them. The new Plena lens, sincerely, is so good. I think it's optically the best portrait lens that I've ever shot with, and you're getting Noct-like image quality with autofocus without some of the aberrations that the Noct has for a fraction of the price. Now, this shoot may seem really familiar to you. It was the exact same day that I shot with Kelsey to introduce the Nikon ZF, and I have to point out, Nikon requires it, that the lens I was shooting with is pre-production, and some of the images I'm sharing here were also from the pre-production ZF. The others I took with the Z8. Howdy folks, welcome back to New York City, hot on the heels of the new Nikon ZF. I also have the chance to shoot today with the new 135 f1.8S Plena lens. Now, I always get in trouble for my pronunciation for you guys, especially for Nikon and Z and Z. If it was Australian, we'd probably say Plena, mate. I think it's based on a Latin or Greek word, so probably Plena or something like that. But I've already had the chance to shoot with this guy. It's pretty impressive. Those of you who've been shooting Nikon for a long time would know there's a cult legendary lens, the 135 f2, that was actually released 18 years ago, and there hasn't been a 135 in the Nikon lineup since then. So there's probably going to be some very excited people out there. In terms of size and weight, it seems about a little bit smaller than the 85-1.2, and I think the price is going to be a little bit below that one as well. There's a couple of things that make this one stand out from even the rest of the S range of primes. Let me quickly run you through the specs before we get model Kelsey in to do some test shoots. If you're a Nikon Z user, folks, do me a favor and check out my expert setup guide. It takes you through every single camera in the system, all the way up through to the latest ZF. And it's constantly being updated as new major firmware and cameras are added to the system. It'll take you through all of the camera controls of your camera, how to initially set it up to get the most out of it, and then all of the deep hidden menu items, what they do and how to make use of them to get the best results for your style of shooting. Check it out, details are below. So the 135 is joining the 50 and 85 as fast aperture ultra primes that, even though it's a 1.8, you might think it's going to be sitting in there with the 85-1.8, but this is clearly positioned a level above that. This has all of their best technology in there, including some brand new stuff. Firstly, of course, it is dust and weather sealed. It has an 11-blade diaphragm and a larger rear element, which is designed to contribute to the circular bokeh. And that seems to be something that they're really focusing in on this one, is that the bokeh is perfect and round and bright, and that you basically have no vignetting. Now, I don't know exactly how the technology works, but Nikon's calling it peripheral illumination. And I can tell you, looking at it through the viewfinder, wide open, I basically couldn't see any vignetting, which is kind of, no prime lens has that. No lens really completely wide open, you won't see a little bit of darkening in the corners. If you've ever noticed when you're shooting with your 2.8 zoom or your 1.4 prime, and you actually stop it down 2/3 or a full stop, sometimes the frame actually looks brighter. It's because the edges, the vignetting, has started to lift. On this one, even wide open, it does seem, we'll have to get it in studio to see pixel peep a little bit, but it does seem like all the way to the corner is staying evenly bright. In terms of optical construction, you're looking at 16 elements in 14 groups with 4 extra low dispersion elements and a spherical element and 1 SR lens element. It's got a dedicated function button which you can customize to a whole bunch of different uses, and it's still using the 82mm front filter thread, which you'll find on the 50 and the 85 as well. In terms of weight, it's coming in at 2.2 pounds or just under 1 kilogram. Okay, so I got the test out the Plena about 3 weeks ago now. It was only for a morning, and I could tell as I was shooting with it, it was performing great. It looked really good through the viewfinder, but it's not until you get back in studio and actually kind of have a little pixel peep of the files that you see really how good is it. And so often when you get home, you realize, this isn't so good, that isn't so good. This absolutely blew me away. Think of like a knocked lens. Of course, it's not that fast, but like that kind of level of perfectly sharp where you want it to be, falling away in beautiful dreamlike bokeh beyond that. So little in the way of aberrations, and maybe, definitely, the least vignetting I have ever seen on any lens when shooting it wide open. It's just spectacular, but as I said, being that it's a pre-production lens, I'm not allowed to give you download sample files, I'm sorry, and I'm not allowed to even zoom in 100% on these, which is quite frustrating, trust me. But I've chosen out a few here just so you can have a little look at them on the screen here. Just look at the corners, shot wide open. It's just not vignetting at all, and I can't zoom in to show you, but you can just take my word for it. The skin tones are beautiful. This was on the... was this the Z8 or the ZF? This one was with the ZF. But both cameras, it was just coming up beautifully. And forget about, it's a 135, it's only 1.8. Shouldn't it have been a 1.4 or 1.2? Your depth of field is so shallow. Nailing the eye means you're just getting the eyelashes in sharp focus. So don't worry about your depth of field. You can see just how soft and smooth the bokeh is. It's like velvet in the background. It just falls away so beautifully. Kelsey was great to work with. Do check out her social media. It's crazy sharp where you want it to be and falls away to nothing in the background. This is an example. It's not the most inspiring shot. This was just taken in Madison Square Park. But this is indirect lighting, basically rear lighting. If you've ever shot with a lens where your subject's being backlit, you find the hair kind of gets eaten away because you're overexposing the scene, and then kind of it doesn't have the sharpness and clarity to hold the darker areas. But here, even going right in, her skin is so detailed, the hair is so detailed, and the contrast is so rich and strong, it holds up even to this difficult lighting. And a boring shot of some water drops on a leaf. But again, trust me, when you zoom in there, this one with the Z8, you can see every little vein and detail in the leaf. I will be getting you sample files as soon as I can once I get access to a lens that's cleared to shoot with. For the question of, given that I sincerely think it is optically the best portrait lens probably that I've ever shot with, am I going to buy one? I really don't know. The 200 f2 works so great for what it does, but God, I have to say, it is so heavy. But I found myself kind of struggling with the focal length. 135 just isn't a focal length that I use very often. That was a big space we were shooting in. Often when I'm shooting in Southeast Asia, we have far less space than that to shoot. And to get like a half body or a 3/4 body shot, I was like way across the other side of the room. I really think 105 is kind of my ideal portrait focal length. So I'll give it some more thought. Never say never. It was truly spectacular. And again, I can't overstate it. It may be a small thing to some people, but the peripheral illumination that they've put in this, whatever that technology is, having the no vignetting to the corners wide open, it's just, you never see it. Even the Noct has vignetting at 0.95. It's not until you stop down 2/3 or a full stop that you lose that. The Zeiss Otis's still had vignetting. I can't wait to see what this lens does once it's put through the ringer by someone like DxO or one of the lens testers. I'm pretty confident it's going to set some new records. Check it out. There'll be some links below where you can, I'm sure it's going to go up on pre-order. I don't know all of the details, but no doubt a lens like this is going to be back ordered, especially with optics that challenge something like a Noct with autofocus at a fraction of the price. This thing is going to be really popular for portrait photographers. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you soon.